Hi guys, it's Steph. We are continuing our conversation this week about the disc S, who is the supporter. And this week I have some tips for you about how S's relate to others and sometimes how others relate to the S. So in terms of how they relate to others, S's tend to be very gentle, sensitive people. I mentioned before how they play things very close to the vest, so they don't necessarily reveal their feelings very easily to others, but they are very in tune to how people are impacted by decisions, lack of decisions, poor decisions, how quickly things get implemented and how disruptive that can be if there isn't good communication. So they're very sensitive about their family and they're very sensitive about their team at work. So if you look kind of across the disc spectrum, D's want to know what, S's want to know who, C's usually want to know why, but S's want to know how. And the reason they want to know how is a two-parter. Number one, they're very systems oriented and they're methodical. So their need to know how is usually tied in with the fact that they get sort of the fussy end of the lollipop, that, you know, the agents of change on one side of the disc, the D's and the I's, are kind of making things a little bit messy and maybe a little chaotic because they keep bringing in new information and new ideas and new ways of doing things. And the S, understandably, is very concerned about how this is affecting the stability of the company and of their team, right? So systems, very important to them, and the how, very important to them. The other reason that's important to them is because they are people-oriented. I's tend to be a little more individualistic. They don't mind being out in front, but because supporters are in the background, making sure that everyone and everything is taken care of, they are deeply sensitive to how change affects those around them. So sometimes, in terms of how people respond to the S, how they relate to the S, sometimes what that comes across as is sort of the wet blanket or the Eeyore. And it isn't that they don't want to change. I think that S's are just more skeptical of whether the change is necessary and how effectively it's being carried out because it affects those around them. And they're really in tune with that. So I think it would behoove my extroverted counterparts to think of S's not in terms of the Debbie Downers of the office, but as the pragmatists of the office, because they're the ones who usually have to wind up cleaning up our mess when we move too quickly and we don't think things through and we don't communicate them clearly. So in terms of how S's relate to others and how others relate to S's, they move a little more slowly. They require a little more patience and a little more space and some grace to embrace what's going on and really process it. But once they do, they can help you turn it into a system and turn it into something that functions very effectively and for the long term. So investing in them and being patient with them is worth it. So that's what I've got for you this week. If you have any other questions about how to use S's on your team or about behavioral analysis in general, you know where to find me. In fact, using S's on your team is going to be next week's topic, and that is going to wrap up our series on the S before we start talking about the C, who is the contemplator. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Again, I'm here to support you if you need anything, and enjoy. Take care, guys. Bye.